Hello, friends. It is Thursday. We are one day closer to the weekend. I'm so ready for it. It is much needed. But no, I'm coming up here today to make this video. It's probably going on 8:30. I really should be editing a video to post, but I decided to jump up here and do a video because I was reading my emails and I received an email from one of our friends and she wanted more information as to what a sales and use license is. Good question. That is a very good question. Anyone who is retailing should definitely have a sales and use license. Now, depending on what state you're in, they may call it something different. They may call it tax exempt license. I think some places call it a wholesaler license. In the state of North Carolina, it is called a sales and use license. But sometimes when I go to order inventory, they're like, we need to see your tax exemption form, which is the same thing as the sales and use. So basically what the sales and use is it is a form that you get from your state. You will need to file that through your state's Department of Revenue. Now, some states may be different. You may file that through the Secretary of State, or you may file it through the state itself, but you need to Google. If you're in doubt, you can always call your Department of Revenue on the state level and ask them, and they can guide you to where you need to go. Just make sure you are following it by that state that you are in. Now, if you plan on doing business in another state, some states do require you to have one per their state. Now, in our state, it is free. You do not have to pay for it. In South Carolina, how do I know? You're probably wondering. In South Carolina, you do have to pay for it. The last time I checked, it was $50. I know because I wanted to go down to South Carolina and retail at a flea market. And the flea market told me that South Carolina had changed their laws and you have to have a sales and use license in order to retail down there. So I cannot go there until I have one. Okay? So, always check with your department, your state's Department of Revenue, or the state itself, called the state of secretary, or someone in your local government agency should be able to guide you as to where you need to be. Anyways, back on topic. So, what does it do? Basically, what a sales and use license does is it stops you from having to pay taxes on items that you are going to resell to someone else. Why? Why? Because, first of all, every penny counts. Let's be honest, especially if you are bootstrapping your business or you didn't get any loans. Even if you didn't get loans, when you are in business, you're in business to make a profit. Let's be honest. Like, unless you are a nonprofit, then you are trying to make some type of income, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it stops you from having to pay the taxes on things. So, like, let's use the coffee mugs that I make, for example. When I purchased those coffee mugs from the vendor, I didn't pay taxes on it because I had a sales and use license, right? If I didn't have the sales and use license, I would have had to pay the taxes on it, which could have been $50, it could have been $1.25, it could have been 75 cents. Whatever your state charges for taxes is what you would have been charged. I didn't pay the taxes on that. Why? Because I am making that to resell, or I'm buying it to resell to someone else. And so the taxes are being passed down to the customer or the client that is buying that item from me. I hope that makes sense to you. So instead of me paying the taxes, when they buy that coffee mug, they pay the taxes. Now, what happens if I did pay the taxes on it? I didn't use the sales and use license. That's cool, because what will happen is you already paid the taxes on it, so you can't charge someone else the taxes because you already paid the taxes. That's called double taxation, okay? You don't want to do that. It's a very slippery slope. So you don't have to worry about collecting taxes from someone. All right. So that's one of the things that a sales and use license helps with. And I hope I said this. I can't remember because I'm literally running off of coffee as fumes. But Some states call a sales and use license a wholesaler license or a tax exempt license or a retailer license. Depending on your state and regulations, you need to read what each one of those are so that you make sure you're using the right one, okay? Now, there are some vendors that will say, we need to see your tax exemption paper. They are talking about your sales and use. Okay, I'm in the state of North Carolina. They call it sales and use. That is the same thing. It stops you from having to pay taxes on it. The other cool thing about it is it allows you to buy from wholesalers or distributors. There are certain wholesalers and distributors that say, we don't just sell to the general public, people. You got to be a retailer, or you have to be a wholesaler, or you have to be a distributor. This is going to help you get that, okay? Now, when I went to go purchase, when I finally found the company that works for me to purchase my t-shirts from, they do not sell to the general public. You cannot come in there. They only sell to retailers, okay? And in order for me to prove that I was a retailer, I had to show them my sales and use form, okay? So that's what helped me out with that. Now, if you are providing services to someone, you do not have to charge per your state. You need to check with your state. Let me say that before I keep going. Check with your state because every state is different. In the state of North Carolina, you do not have to charge taxes for your services. So if you're cutting someone's grass, washing their car, you're doing someone's hair, things like that, you don't charge taxes for. But when you are exchanging, when you're selling goods, then you have to charge taxes for that, okay? Now, if you decide to get a sales and use tax license, there are some things that you're going to have in place before they will allow you to get it. So one of those things that they're going to ask for when you get ready to file for it, and everything can be done electronically online. You don't necessarily have to go up to the building. I did mine online. One of the things that they're going to want to know is your articles of organization. I'm not sure if you can get it as a unregistered sole proprietor. You would have to check, but I'm not sure if you would. I know that you can register with the state as a sole proprietor, and that may allow you to get it, but you would still have an article of organization if you file with the state. If you have an LLC, a LLP, all of those, anything that's been organized with the state, meaning that you have recorded your business through your Secretary of State. They're going to want to see that. Then they also asked me for my EIN number because I am an LLC and I decided to separate my business from myself. I gave my business its own identity by getting an EIN. The EIN means that my business has a Social Security number. Now, for us people, we have Social Security numbers. For businesses who have their articles of organization, they have EIN numbers. An EIN is the equivalent of a Social Security number. It's not a Social Security number, right? Because Social Security numbers can only be for people. An EIN is for a business. So they did ask me for that. If you need me to go into further detail about what an EIN is or an LLC and all of that, I can do that, no problem. Drop down in the comments and let me know, or hit me up in my emails because I do respond. But yeah, I did need that. And basically, that's about it when it comes to the sales and use license. The other thing about it is, I didn't have to renew my license at all. However, renew it as far as having to reapply for one every year or anything like that. But you do have to pay the taxes that you collect based on the amount of revenue that you report that you would be making yearly. So however you set it up, some people only pay once a year. Some people pay twice a year. Some people pay every quarter. I think they just went and changed it because when I went to go pay mine was quarterly, and then it switched to every 3 months, and I really need to ask them how this is working out because I am confused, okay? But how it was before it changed on me was I paid quarterly, meaning January, February, and March I paid in April, and then April and the next 3 months I paid on the next following month, and so on and so on. But I only had to pay what I collected. So let's say I didn't have any sales for 3 months. Then I would file 0 because there's nothing for me to pay them. But let's say I had a good month and I collected over $200 in taxes. I need to pay them that $200. So dear friends, when you get your sales and use tax license, and as you are charging your customers, as you're charging your customers taxes, you need to put that money into a separate bank account. Reason being is you have to pay that money back. You got to pay it back, okay? And the last thing you want to have happen is when it is time to pay that money back, you don't have all the money to pay. Now, they do charge you a late fee if you pay it late. I want to say in the state of North Carolina, it's a 5% fee of what you owe. I could be wrong. Always check with your state, okay? It's so, excuse me, y'all. It's so funny because when I'm at school, you know, I teach cosmetology, and so we're always teaching them about mixing products and how to use products. And one of the things we always say is, whenever in doubt, and even if not in doubt, always check with the manufacturer's directions. Because the last thing you want to be doing is using a product from one company and you're thinking that it's the same product with a different company, and come to find out the way that they do theirs is totally different. And now you done messed it all up. So always check for yourself. You know, I'm just giving you advice as to what has helped me along my journey. But when it comes to your journey, always fact check what you hear from people. Don't take everything to heart, because sometimes things changes. Like, your state may do it one way for a little while, and then next year they change it and it's done differently. So always, always, always reach out to your state. Now, like I said before, you would file for it in North Carolina through the Department of Revenue. Your state, however, could be different. You may have to file for it through the Secretary of State. What I would do first is contact the Department of Revenue, your state's Department of Revenue, to figure out if you need to pay them, or is it free, or where do you need to go to file it, okay? In the state of North Carolina, I can't remember if I said this or not, but when I edit it, we'll find out. But in the state of North Carolina, it is free. In the state of South Carolina, it is not free. And I know because I wanted to go to South Carolina to become a vendor at a flea market there, and they told me, hey, back in the day, you didn't have to have a sales and use license for South Carolina. Then they had changed it to you have to have one, period. It didn't have to be in South Carolina because I'm not a resident there. It could have been the one from North Carolina because I am a resident there. Now South Carolina has changed it. They said, we don't care if you're a resident or not, you have to have one. Then certain states will say, if you're not a resident, you don't have to have it. If you're only coming here a couple of times out the month to sell, then you don't have to have it. But then there are other states that say, no, you have to have it if you're conducting business in our state. So right now, I just have my sales and use license for the state of North Carolina, because that is the state that my physical presence is in, and that's how I'm gonna roll, all right? So, dear friend, I hope that answered your question. If it didn't, send me another email as always, and I will respond back to you. I hope you guys have learned something from this video. I hope it has helped you. If you still have questions, you can always reach out to me. Drop down in the comments and let me know what you think about this video, what your experience has been with your sales and use license, all right? Until next time, this is all I have for you. I'm about to edit this video and then I'm going to bed. But, yeah, so that's all I got. Bye!